Jason, well, I appreciate your time this afternoon. So, everybody, in our continuing web series of interviewing professionals in applicable industries, is what we're going to call it. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Jason Howell with Howell and Company. Jason's an amazing financial planner and advisor, and he'll get more into what he does and the particular way he does it in a moment. But we're very lucky to have him, obviously, in these uncertain financial times. Regardless of how your income has or has not been affected, I think we'd all agree there's some uncertainty in all of our financial futures. So, Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for having me here for your brand new series. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm a principal at Jason Howell Company, yes, very strategically named after myself. We're a family wealth management firm, and we work with families, helping them make decisions that often include their finances. I see it as my job to share the joy of financial planning. So I also have a book called Joy of Financial Planning that goes into the same 7 categories that I work through with my clients on 7 different categories of financial life that we get into. I put those same bits of information in the book so that people who weren't clients were still able to get some of that information. And thinking of where we are today, I believe this is the kind of content that some of us kind of consider eating our vegetables and don't really want to get into every day of the week. But something like a pandemic really shows us that getting our books straight really helps us during these times to keep our heads straight and to make it through.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about the Howell Company and how you guys are a bit different. And more importantly, I guess, what's your process? What is it that you do versus the standard assumption people have of financial planners? Because I feel like if you've only worked with one financial planner, you only know the way they do it. And also, if you've never worked with one, you might have assumptions on what it is and how it works.
Well, there's so many financial firms in the industry, and so you see a lot of them advertise on TV. They all kind of look the same. I know that these days their mission statements all kind of sound the same. They want to take care of you. They want to make sure life is right. And it seems like they would all pretty much do the same kind of a thing. A lot of them have been around for like maybe 100 years. And so you might imagine that they do, but they don't. For over 100 years, the business has been about sales. It's selling you some kind of product. It could be an insurance product. It could be a business partnership product. It could be a stock. It could be a mutual fund. And over the years, all of the commissions for those kinds of tools really have dropped. And so what you've seen are these firms pivot into selling something different to the next person and saying that they're a specialist in it and that they could do very well financially if they just got involved with those particular tools.
Just a little bit of this and we're in the game, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. But if you've been paying attention to some of the recent news, I should say not recent, the recent news is the pandemic. But the news from last fall was even trading fees online amongst trading ETFs or stocks have gone to 0 for most of the discount broker providers like the Vanguards and Fidelity, TD Ameritrades. And so the real business is, and I argue should have always been, about true planning. So a firm like mine, an independent registered investment advisory firm, is a firm that's focused on the overall plan of a person's life. Now, we know plans change all the time, but planning is a process that we should take for the betterment of getting the goals that we want and kind of setting aside the concerns that we have. So how we manifest that with our clients is we put the planning up front. We have a particular 6-month engagement that most every client does come through when they're working with Jason Howell Company. And that 6-month engagement is a flat fee. And we work with them to go through all 7 categories of financial life. And by the time we're done with that process, the client understands how to walk through that process on their own. They have the choice to walk away and continue that process year over year, or they can stick with us like traditional firms would do. And we can manage money as traditional firms do. And we can hold their hand through implementing that process over the course of years and then adjusting when things change.
So not only in more traditional times is planning obviously pivotal, but in times like these where there's a change, it's much easier, I would assume, to change an existing plan than go into the situation when you didn't have something planned in the first place.
It sure is. And my advice to a lot of folks is to just sort of stop and take a pause. If you haven't already by being at home, certainly stop and take a pause. If you've put together a really good long-term plan, then most of that plan is still valid, because that plan is going to include, certainly when we work with our clients, what do you want out of life? And then people might call that goals.
Mhm.
What are you concerned about with your life? And you have those two categories, and you've built something around to mitigate your concerns and to achieve your goals. Well, something like this that's come out is probably unexpected, but the market fluctuating, the stock market fluctuating, is not unexpected. If you lose
Understood.
your job, that may be unexpected. But if you had a plan in place to have an emergency fund, then you kind of expected it a little bit. That's all part of the planning. If you had the proper insurance, I know that's what you do, Gabriel.
Yes, sir.
No one expects to get into a car accident, but if they get into one, you have insurance to cover that. That's why you
Expect
pay
the
the premium.
unexpected at the end of the
Absolutely.
day.
So that's what's neat about, true, kind of comprehensive
Mhm.
financial planning, where someone is going to build a roadmap, and we call our document a roadmap that says, here are all the things that could happen to you financially. And here are all the ways that you could mitigate those concerns. And then, setting aside from the eating your vegetables part of the financial plan, here's the dessert. Here's what you're going to get if you actually do these things that will not prevent you from pushing you off of your plan. You'll be able to retire at a certain age, or if that's not part of your goals, you'll be able to take these kinds of vacations annually if we ever get past the pandemic.
A
You'll
lot
be
of
able to,
staycations. Take those staycations.
vacations are awesome. And so we work through those. I mean, I think I'll underscore it by saying this: we help families with their decisions, and some of these decisions are hard to make in the day-to-day life. And so, working with a
Absolutely.
third party that isn't about selling products, we don't sell any products. The only thing we sell is advice. And that advice typically is in and around decisions that you would make if you are of sound mind at the time that an accident happens, that there's a job loss, that someone's going to get married, that you're going to maybe help supplement their marriage costs for.
Hmm.
All those things you want to think about when you have sort of the energy to put really sound thinking around it.
Absolutely. So, with that, how have you and the Howell Company changed operations specifically for dealing with clients when obviously most of us are homebound or at best leaving our house very infrequently?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a little story. Our firm is about 5 years old, so we're relatively young, and we're always iterating and overthinking sometimes, how we can best serve our clients. And so last fall, we were in one of our brainstorming sessions, and we said, you know what, let's make some investments in some other tools, some tools for risk management, some tools for, tax management, and let's also up the ante on how we're interacting with our clients. And so we thought up all these great things, and then we said, all right, how are we going to do it? Where can we save time? And the time was going to be saved by commuting costs, coordinating schedules costs. And so we sent out a letter to our clients, and it's in our blog in December, saying we're going to increase the value that we provide you,
Hmm.
but to do that, we're going to operate virtually. And so we were already clients of Zoom.
So you're ahead of the game, ahead of the curve in a major way.
And, well, we got lucky. If I were really ahead of the game, I would have been shorting the stock market. Um,
True.
but we
True.
got lucky, probably because we're always thinking about how to improve what we can do for our clients. And so we were prepared for this kind of thing, which is an odd thing to say, at least
Hmm.
mechanically. We've been more communicative with our clients, especially in March. We were sending a letter to our clients every 2 or 3 days, just to let them know what we were thinking about, what was happening in the market, so that they were not worried. And we never received a call of worry from any of our client families, which was really something, because we expected to get a few calls and we didn't, but we were proactive, so that probably helped. And so
I mean,
more
it speaks to
interaction.
the quality of your communication that, people were freaking out and you were ahead of the curve as always and allowing people to get that information before they felt the need to get it.
Hopefully that's the reason. We like to think that. Over the past few months, we've continued, having conversations with our clients in a more assertive way, but in a way that we planned to do last fall. The biggest reason that people leave clients in all the surveys that I see in my industry is because they're not hearing from their advisor, which is really an interesting reason, isn't it? It's kind of like, you were supposed to be our friend. You were supposed to be there for us, and we're not hearing
Where are
from you.
you?
That's the reason. It's not because they weren't expert in trading stocks, or they put together bad financial plans, which I might have some commentary on some other plans that I've seen. But that isn't the reason why people leave. It's just, lack of communication. And so we've tried to make that something that we do well, and we're always thinking of ways that we can do it better.
Fantastic. So, and obviously some of these are broader questions, and they're not going to apply to every single individual, but what should, as a whole, people be doing different now with their whole financial life, not just with investing, but as you pointed out, you approach family finance holistically. So what are some of the things that this situation in particular people should adjust on?
Well, to my chagrin, most people don't have a financial plan. I mean, this is my business. This is what I do.
You're not wrong.
What I believe
You're not
in.
wrong.
I wrote a book about it. And that's why I wrote the book, because knowing people didn't have plans, knowing that our generation faces more and different challenges than our parents and our parents' generations, it's certainly been, my belief personally, that we have to get better at doing the financial stuff. It's not enough, and you may already feel this, to just work hard and everything works out for you financially. Housing costs have just gone and grown far and above the way than salary costs or salary compensation has. Healthcare costs, college costs, all of those have grown faster than inflation and faster than salary has grown adjusted for inflation. And so we just have different challenges to face here in 2020, and that was before the pandemic. With the pandemic, it's just an opportunity to say, you know what, I really, really, really do need to step back and create some kind of a plan. So what does that mean? Mechanically, what does that mean? Very simply, it's seeing where you are. So what is a net worth statement? It's all of the cash you've got, whether it's in investments or whether it's in cash, maybe the value of your home if you own a home, the value of a car if you have a car, less, so subtract all of your debt. Maybe it's the debt on that car, maybe it's the debt on that home. You don't have either of those.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Pretty much. Maybe it's a student loan, maybe it's credit cards. But you take what you have minus what you owe. So what you own minus what you owe, and what the difference is your net worth. And it's not your self-worth, it's your net worth. Okay. And if you don't have
important distinction.
Very important distinction. If you don't have a big retirement account, or if you don't have a lot of equity in your home, then more likely than not, that number is going to be negative. But that's the case for a lot of people who don't own a home or don't have a big retirement account. It's a snapshot of where you are at the moment you do it. But over time, you're going to see it change, and I'll tell you how. The second statement you want to have is a cash flow statement. All the money you make minus all the money you spend, that's what you've got available for savings. Now, if you have those two statements and you basically generate them once a month, and you see it from month 1 and month 2, so you do it for the end of May, you do it for the end of June, in the back of your mind, you're going to want to see those numbers improve. It's going to frustrate you, and you will do things subconsciously that will actually help those numbers. You will cut down on some spending. You will set aside a little bit of money. You will maybe not, put something on the credit card or what have you. You'll just do these things innately because you know what to do. You certainly don't need a financial advisor or certified financial planner to tell you what to do. You just need your own sort of encouragement, and seeing those documents, having that awareness makes a big difference. That would be step 1. Identifying where you are and where you're headed, and that'll help you go ahead. But long term, you want to have conversations with people like you, Gabby, on all the stuff that might more likely be considered boring. Talk about insurance, read the policy, see what it covers, because that's the protection. I say this to students I teach over at American University. You create an emergency fund. We've all heard about emergency fund. For emergencies, you kind of should be able to anticipate, but more importantly, for emergencies you can't afford. So you can afford a flat tire. You can afford maybe losing your job for a few months. You should be able to. You should have 6 months worth of your expenses saved. That's a best practice. But if you get into a car accident, you don't have the money to fix that Mercedes that you ran into, far less your own car. If you break your leg, you don't have the money to pay for that. You're not asked to. We don't ask you to do that. We say work with providers who sell insurance and make sure you have those pieces in place. So if you don't have those in place, then put those in place. I'm hearing a lot of people going to their estate planners and getting their affairs in order, right? So that they have those pieces in place. Those are all part of a comprehensive financial plan. And there is time now to do the kind of thing that you just didn't want to get around to doing. And my advice to folks is take the opportunity, because this particular event was not anticipated, but the urgency of our generation getting our books together is, it is something that we all know. We're all undergoing a retirement experiment. For the first time, we're not going to have pensions, right?
Yes.
Social Security is only going to be about a third to maybe 40% of what we need. And so we're being asked to save our own money and take care of ourselves. And that really just hasn't happened. We didn't have this kind of life expectancy and this kind of requirement ever before. And so with that, we know that it's on us to do our best. And I think taking this opportunity to put those pieces in place is the opportunity you have now.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head as far as, expecting the unexpected, and you should be planning for something. And the whole point is to plan for things that you don't know what they're going to be, because you're going to have a flat, you're going to need certain items. And that's something that I preach in the insurance field is, hey, you are behaving as if X. Hey, these are the normal things that happen. I can absorb those financially. It might not be a pandemic. It might be an economic downturn. There's always something. But when you look at the history, there's always something. It might be something different. But if you prepare for anything, you're going to be much more adept to react to the specific instance that causes an issue moving forward. So could not agree more. So with that planning and with that, we are facing that before the pandemic, a new world of retirement and financials. Given now the pandemic and everything that's happening, are there still ways for me and people like me to achieve our long-term goals? Is that still something, or do we have to start shifting those goals?
Oh, absolutely. You can achieve your long-term goals. The way you do it may be differently than you anticipated. I would say that my industry has played a little bit of a trick on the public ever since the early 80s. This idea that you could set aside 3% of your income and have enough to live for 30 years after you stop working is a little bit of, it was an imaginable thing that could be done. I think a lot of people are finding that it's a big challenge. If you do everything right and you, jump over and around every obstacle, then it can work. But the truth has always really been about income. Even when you see those commercials about getting your number, the reason that there's a number, let's say it's $3 million, it's because you want to be able to take 4% of that out every year for income. And that's the kind of the number that our industry talks about as, like, if you can take 4% out of the pot of money, then you should be able to last for the next 20, 30 years, maybe, depending on how the returns come in and whatever happens. But that sort of says and forces that you've got this $3 million pot of money. What if you don't think you're going to get there? Well, the real answer is income. It's always been income. It was income when we were talking about pensions. It was income when Social Security was invented. It's still income even now when we told you to save all of this money. What was it for? To drive and pull income from it. So if you can keep income going, you're going to be better off. So I posited that our generation is facing challenges that our parents never had to face. Well, our generation is also facing opportunities that our parents and parents never had. We are able to talk now online, on the internet, real time, and we can save this video and we can post this so that anyone in the world could see it. That's magic. That's stuff that you were stoned for a couple generations ago.
I saw my friends on this screen. It was great.
Yeah, no, you get to go to the crazy house for that. And now we can do that. And with that, there's opportunity. So whatever expertise that you have, you can leverage that and create a value for other people. And that's all that, income really is. That's all business really is. It's creating value for your community. So you create value for your employer, which is why you're still employed. But if that money isn't enough for you, then you would assume working harder would get you more money, and maybe it will. But maybe if you can create value for others outside of your business or outside of your employer, then you'll have an opportunity to generate some income. And with that income, it doesn't need to end if it's something you're interested in. Today, content is king, not cash. And so if you're able to put out there something that other people don't know of, and I was just saying this the other day about, the 4-Hour Workweek book by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
I read a long time ago, and, it's very outdated in some ways, and the way that you would take your information from your head and put it down on a CD and mail it out to people. No one's doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But where it's right is It says you're an expert if you know more than most people about a particular topic. And that's true. Most people are consuming content that can be relatively frivolous. It could be your hobby. And if you've just been really into, I don't know, baseball cards, or you've been really into celebrities, or you've been, really into, I don't know what, you can take that information that you have and you can talk about it. You can record it on a podcast. You can record it on YouTube. You can write about it in a blog, and you can continually add to that as a passion project. And as you add to that, there have been numerous ways to monetize that in ways that don't require you to even leave your house, which is pretty apropos during a pandemic. And so, there are only two ways to essentially have more money: spend less or make more. And so if you're already spending less, and you probably are because you're not going out and buying, food at restaurants, and you're not doing you're not spending money on gas, you shouldn't be, then you've got one end of it and you're making a little money there. But you want more because you have bigger goals and other things that you want to do. That's where you would need to generate more income. And in today, in 2020 and 2021 and going forward, there are only going to be more opportunities to generate income outside of your current employer.
Jason, that's a great answer. You almost basically answered what my next question was going to be. You're psychic, and that is, will this change, income, retirement planning, and money management beyond this recession? And I think you've hit the nail on the head. People have to find ways to diversify their income and try to not only maybe have multiple sources, like you said, you have your employer and you have content you could create perhaps, but also that content is independent of other things occurring, like a pandemic and stuff, where as long as I have electricity and an internet connection, I can try to do something. So that's phenomenal. Now, so what's one thing, if you could tell anyone, what's the one thing not to do right now? Because a lot of people are scrambling. A lot of people think, hey, chaos means I have to take action. What's the one thing you would say, hey, that's not the action you should take?
Well, don't panic. I mean, that's the reality.
That's not an action. That's my favorite. I'm just going to lose my mind and that'll fix things, right?
No,
okay.
We don't get to.
Okay.
You don't get to this time. There's a very immediate view. I mean, today, this moment. There's a short-term view, what's going to happen in the next couple of months, what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And there's what's going to happen in the next 12 months. And I'll posit to you that that's all short-term. Sure. So think of where you're going to be a year from now. Okay, that scares you. Don't think about that. Think about where the country is going to be a year from now and what we're going to have. Is it likely that we're going to have a vaccine for this particular virus? Is it likely that we're going to have a treatment for this particular virus? Is it likely that businesses are going to find a way to adapt despite what's going on with the virus? That greed will take over and businesses will find a way to make money. If you believe all of those things are likely, not today, not tomorrow, not in a month, not in 3 months, not in 6 months, but in a year from now, then even in a year from now, that means that the short term, we're going to be out from under where we are today. And so sit back and plan for that. I'll tell you, that's what the very wealthy people do. They look further and ahead than other people and say, how can I be prepared for the next opportunity? And Gabby, you were talking about this, I think, was it 2 years ago? Looking at the problem and finding the opportunity and how that's really changed your perspective. Mm-hmm. And I'd offer that to anyone that you're interacting with. Be like Gabby and find the opportunity in, this incredible challenge that we're all facing, and we're all facing it in a unique way, but we're all having an opportunity in a unique way based on the talents and skills and experiences that you've had individually. Leverage them, use them, and look out over a year and see what you can become.
I totally agree. And to your point, Jason, we did discuss this a long time ago. And to me, the axiom of if there's blood in the street, buy property, that might not be feasible for the literal buying of property, but right. Where there is change, there is opportunity. And it might be uncomfortable, but if you look at it as an opportunity for new growth, for time invested in other things, because you now have been given time back because you're stuck at home, whatever the case may be, there is an opportunity to grow as an individual, grow your business, grow your income, if you look for it and not just focus on the veritable blood on the streets. So Jason, I really appreciate your time. I've been fortunate enough to work with you and your clients before, and not only have they had nothing but good things to say. In my industry, I meet a lot of individuals who do financial services, and I can say without question, you're the best, and I really mean that.
Thank you.
And your advice is always solid, and so is your candor. You tell it like it is. You're very not just truthful, but hey, here's a situation. It's very easy to explain because I do not pretend to be a financial expert. And I did read your book.
Thank you.
I'm more of a fiction guy for anybody watching. I'm not big on, but I can tell you it was very laid out, very simple to digest. So it was very informative. It wasn't dense, and it really made you stop. And there was multiple times that, oh, I could do that, or I've kind of been doing that anyway. Let me adjust fire here. So it wasn't like, it's not economic theory. It's not, hey, here's the spreadsheets you need to do this. It's here's the habits, here's the principles, and here's how you build on those. So your information's at the bottom of the screen, Jason, your contact information. If somebody has seen this video, and I'm sure they will, and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that? And what would you tell them?
Well, I'd say jasonhowell.com. So it's my name.com. You'll be able to find certainly my company, Jason Howell Company, on that site, and opportunities to contact me there. And of course, if you're interested in the book, Joy of Financial Planning, you can find it on both Barnes & Noble and Amazon on the internet without going into a store, and you'll be able to pick up a copy. Thanks a lot, Gabby.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. And for everybody, if you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit that little subscribe button. Hit that like button. We're going to be doing these at least once a week with professionals from all manner of industries. So please follow and hit that notification button so you'll know when the next video is up. Thank you.